Welcome back to The Wandering Screen. I'm Matt Coss, and today I'm diving into Netflix's new thriller Don't Move, and caution, spoilers ahead. What do you do when a killer injects you with a paralytic agent and you need to run and hide before your body shuts down? That is hopefully a question we will never have to answer in real life. The thought of being conscious and unable to move any part of your body but your eyelids is haunting in itself. But then add a remorseless killer, a dense forest, and some misguided would-be heroes, and voila, you've got yourself a juicy Netflix thriller. Clocking in at 92 minutes, Don't Move stars Kelsey Asbille from Yellowstone and Finn Witrock from several seasons of American Horror Story. Asbille is Iris, a grieving mother whose son died on a camping trip, and who decides to go for an early morning hike in the area he died and jump off a cliff. A man appears, calls himself Richard, and manages to convince her to take a step back, look at her life, and choose a different direction. Iris is so proud of herself, she catches up to Richard on the way back down the mountain, and when they get to their cars, Richard attacks her with a stun gun. Now, this is a spoiler review, and I'm covering everything, and that includes etiquette for when you find yourself in a tight parking situation, like when someone parks too close to your driver door. Now, you could ask the driver to reverse backwards so you can get in, or you can wait patiently and pretend to tie your shoe if you want to avoid confrontation altogether. The other alternative, you can get in on the passenger side of the car. But you know what you don't do? You don't walk between the tight gap in the cars and try to open your car door only to slam it into the car parked too close to you and try to maneuver yourself in, because you'll get stuck like a human sardine. She purposely hit his car. Anyway, Iris awakens zip-tied in the backseat of his car and learns that she's been injected with a paralytic. And Richard, the very generous villain that he is, tells her exactly the timings and body parts that will shut down as she becomes paralyzed. Basically, she has 20 minutes to get away from this absolute psycho. Here is where the title didn't make sense to me. I literally yelled at the TV, "Move. Move, girl. Move as fast as you can. Don't not move. Go." The rest of the movie is a cat and mouse chase, but imagine both the cat and the mouse having the worst days ever. She was trying to kill herself, and now she finds herself instead in a fight for her life, while all he wanted was a nice weekend away from his family where he could torture and murder someone, when instead he gets into a car crash, girl he kidnaps breaks free, gets gaslit by an old man protecting his victim, and to top it off, the car he steals has no gas in it. Finn Witrock does great work as the villain. He's slimy and convincing and would probably make a great partner to Oz from Penguin. There's also absolutely no doubt about the danger that he is. Witrock easily moves between charm and worst nightmare, which adds to the intensity of the film. Kelsey Asbille has a lot to do while paralyzed, so a lot of her performance has to do with movement. How her thumb hits her fingers and how she can get out of a seatbelt are wonderful showcases for physicality expressing feeling. We're not hanging on her every word, we're hanging on her every slight movement. Asbille is in a grief stupor for much of the film, so directors Adam Schindler and Brian Netto opt for insert shots of physical strain as an escape route presents itself and slowly closes. Now let's talk about the saviors in this film, because the script by TJ Simple and David White does a lot of dirty here. Firstly, Bill, who lives in the forest by himself, finds Iris's limp body washed ashore as he's mowing the lawn. And I don't know how much time he set aside in that day for that lawn, but there is so much overgrowth, he's probably going to need a week. After Bill works out how to communicate with a paralyzed Iris, he hears a knock on the door. When he looks at Iris, she's blinking rapidly, so he knows that something is off. So tell me why he opens the door to Richard, tells him to wait a second, shuts the door, and doesn't turn the lock. In what world? I don't normally say this, but sir, where is your gun? Then there's poor Officer Dontrell, played by Daniel Francis, who comes across Bill's stolen truck and Richard's smashed up Subaru Forester, and yes, the advertising does work on me. He immediately noticed something suspicious is happening. He yells at Richard to take a step back, and when Richard starts to approach, and as Iris manages to roll down the window to whisper help, Officer Dontrell takes his attention off Richard for 2 seconds and gets killed. I couldn't agree with this one. This cop knew what he was doing and could smell Richard from miles away. I didn't believe for a second that Richard would be able to sneak up on the officer, and it feels like a forceful plot point from the writers. They made it too easy for Richard to keep moving, even though they added a lot of pressure. Bill also kicks Richard several times in the guts, and I'm not sure this has much efficacy anymore. Darling, just aim for the crown jewels. But let's give credit where credit is due. The film's craft is fantastic. The score by Mark Hovan and Michelle Osis ramps up the tension, while editor Josh Athia keeps you on the edge of your seat with even the slightest of cuts to show the movement. And the cinematography by Zach Cooperstein beautifully captures chaos. All of this made for a tense and adrenaline pumping viewing experience. Who doesn't want a bit of a thrill? If you made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel for all the latest reviews, and let me know, what title would you give this film? See you next time.